Hi guys, let me take a look at how we would work some of the graphing problems in section 4.1. We've had some concern over how the grapher on MyLab works, and it's kind of a cool feature once you get used to it. So we know that this section is all about exponential functions. In the beginning, this problem is looking at the transformation of the exponential function 2 to the x power. 2 to the x power would asymptotically approach the x-axis. It would cross through the ordered pair 0, 1, and then go up exponentially. Every x value is going to increase by a factor of 2. So you'd have the ordered pair 1, 2, 2, 4, 3, 8, 4, 16, and so forth. Now, what this is going to do, my specific function of g of x in this problem, you can see that g of x is 1/4 times 2 to the x. I know that that 1/4, it's just going to vertically shrink it by that factor of 1/4. So it's going to vertically compress it. Let's see how that's referred to here. So A, shift 2 units up. Certainly not. Shift 2 units down. Of course not. Shrink vertically. Absolutely. So I choose its answer C. I check that. And remember, it's only going to be one of those choices. And it's saying excellent. Now here's the part of the problem where I think some have struggled. So let me make sure I discuss this with you. In the beginning, you know you're graphing an exponential function. So just go ahead and grab the exponential tool, click on the y-axis. It truly doesn't matter where. I always click on 0, 1, but no matter where you click, say even if I click up here, it's just going to draw your generic exponential function in this case. And the generic exponential function it's doing in this one is the base function. Notice it tells you it just graphed a exponential function base 2. You can see at the very bottom of this pop-up that came up, it says this is an exponential function with base 2. So we're not going to change that, but what we're going to change is its vertical stretching or shrinking. So the value that's affecting the vertical stretch or shrink, in this case, it's shrinking, and it's because it's being multiplied by 1/4. So I just type in a 1/4 there. There's no other transformations done to this, but if it was being horizontally stretched or shrink, I would put that here. If there was a vertical shift, like I had +5 or -2 or something, I would put that here. Horizontal shift, well, what if it was 2 to the x plus 5 power or 2 to the x minus 3 power? So if it's up in there with the x, it's a horizontal shift. If you have a negative out in front of the exponential function, be reflect over the if you have a negative in front of the x term, it'd be a reflection about the y-axis, so that'd be 2 to the negative x. If you were reflecting over the x-axis, that'd be a negative 2 to the x. You click that. And this problem didn't have any of those. I just wanted to discuss all of those for the purpose of other problems you might encounter. But in this case, I've got my exponential function drawn in. It also asks you to graph its asymptote. Well, the asymptote is the graph of a line. So I'll go ahead and choose the line tool here. And as I chose that line tool, oh yeah, it just graphed my exponential function. Of course, it's going to go through the y value of 0, 1/4 because of the vertical compression. Now that I choose the line tool, I'll just go to my x-axis because I know y equals 0, or the x-axis is where my line should be. Activate that line tool. You just choose any 2 points on that x-axis and it should be fine. And now I need to make that line a dashed line because asymptotes should always be dashed. And I'll say that line should be dashed. It should be fine. Now I'll save that, make sure it graphed it out correctly. You see the exponential function and my dash asymptote. I'll check that answer. Nice work. I go on to the next part here. And it says, what equation represents the asymptote? Well, the asymptote of every exponential function that's not been vertically shifted, it's just going to be the x-axis, which is our y equals 0. So I type in y equals 0 there. I check that. Correct. We go on to the next part. What is the domain? The domain of every single exponential function in existence is x is equal to -infinity to infinity. So I'll just say parentheses, negative, and I need to use their infinity sign here, and then I'll say comma to infinity. and then close off those parentheses. Should be fine. And my last step here says, what is the range? Well, the range, since our asymptote is here on the x-axis, you know that the y values cannot equal 0, but they could go up all the way to infinity. So similar to the last one, I'll go ahead and create my parentheses, and I'll say 0 for the lowest y value, and then comma up to infinity. Close that out, and that should be right. Okay, guys, I hope this helps you out with the graphing utility on here. You can see we got full credit in that one. You're just going to need to remember to make sure to choose the correct things on the little pop-up menu, and it does all the graphing for you. You don't have to do any dragging, dropping, or anything like that. It should do all the work for you. All right, guys, hope that helps out. Please let me know if you have any questions. Be glad to help.